Universal has never been shy about swapping out classic attractions for whatever's trending. But lately, some of those decisions haven't exactly panned out. Fast and Furious Supercharge replaced Disaster and quickly became one of the park's most criticized rides. Minion Blast took over Shrek 4D and didn't get high praises either. In both cases, the replacements felt rushed with little thought given to long-term appeal or meaningful integration. The Simpsons Ride, on the other hand, actually found success when it replaced Back to the Future the ride in 2008, the first move in a long line of decisions that would upset classic attraction fans. But thanks to the commitment to the source material, a fun and inviting attraction, the massive success of the Simpsons movie from 2007, alongside the fact that the Simpsons have been a culturally dominant franchise, the ride has been able to stay relevant for years. But even with that, all things do come to an end, and the Simpsons time may finally be running out. While the show remains one of the most watched in the US, the way people consume media has shifted, as other shows like The Simpsons have popped up and grabbed those newer audiences, making them not as connected to the franchise. In addition to this, the Springfield area is beginning to show its age as well as the attraction, and Universal's licensing deal is set to expire in 2028. Disney is already surveying guests about bringing the IP into their parks, and it's starting to feel like Springfield's days are numbered. So today, we're diving deep, from the legacy of Back to the Future the ride, to the rise and somewhat slow decline of the Simpsons ride, and what exactly might be next for one of Universal's most iconic theme park spaces. Back to the Future the ride officially opened at Universal Studios Florida on May 1st, 1991, and was located in the area once known as the Expo Center, a section of the park themed to resemble a World's Fair, which would also become home to Men in Black: Alien Attack. The ride was the first of 3 to open, followed by Universal Studios Hollywood on June 12, 1993, and then Universal Studios Japan on March 31, 2001. Unfortunately, none of these attractions still exist today, as all have been shut down and replaced. And though the ride is long gone, you can still find a tribute inside the Orlando park, that being the DeLorean and train from the third film, which are on display near Bumblebee Man's taco truck. Looking over at the attraction story, this takes place after the third film, which I actually didn't realize until I began researching this video. As for the plot, it picks up with Doc Brown returning to modern-day Hill Valley in 1991. Geez, I feel old. Doc invites guests to the Institute of Future Technology to participate in a test run of his latest invention, a new 8-passenger DeLorean time machine. The plan is simple: send you just one day into the future to test the system, but as expected in any Back to the Future story, things go wrong rather quickly. Doc reveals that Biff Tannen, somehow brought from 1955, has escaped containment and is now loose inside the facility. Biff manages to lock Doc in his office and steal one of the prototype DeLoreans. In response, Doc remotely launches your time machine and sends you chasing after Biff across time to stop him before he causes irreversible damage to the space-time continuum. I think the story was incredibly fitting. It struck the perfect balance between simplicity and excitement. It didn't need to be overly complicated to be effective, and growing up, this was one of my favorite rides in the entire park. I would wait as long as it took just to ride it, back when screen-based attractions still felt fresh and novel. As for the ride system used here, it was much more straightforward than the screen-based attractions we see today. Guests sat in seats mounted on a motion simulator platform, positioned in front of 2 massive OmniMax dome projectors. It's the same setup used later for the Simpsons ride, aside from upgraded projectors and redesigned ride vehicles. For its time, the technology was genuinely impressive. The simulator could move up to 2 feet in any direction, delivering a surprisingly dynamic experience. Engineers even tried to design the theater so you couldn't see other riders during the show, but that wasn't always successful. With a little effort, you could still spot other guests around you if you so wished. But with that covered, let's dive into the Simpsons ride and how it came to take over this iconic space. For the Simpsons ride, it wasn't always the land of Springfield that we know today, which some may not remember. Before Springfield had its own dedicated area, it was simply just the attraction, as Back to the Future's building would be repainted in blue with red accents, and the words Krusty Land displayed behind a Krusty the Clown head entrance, as the theme here was aiming to follow that of a state fair, or also known as a midway. Around the ride entrance, there were even games you would typically see at a state fair, and for a while, that was all of Springfield. This would all change in August of 2013, when Universal began expanding Springfield in phases, but that's something I'll cover later in the video more. As far as the attraction goes, its story is quite simple, and probably easier to follow if you've watched The Simpsons. While it might be hard to see today, there was a time when The Simpsons was one of the most relevant cultural forces, being a cartoon that entertained both adults and young teens, and it really had a strong foothold. It essentially was the cartoon that spearheaded the creation of other cartoons to be successful, like Family Guy and South Park. This show, created by Matt Groening, aired its first episode in 1989, and has since had 36 seasons with 772 episodes and 4 more seasons already scheduled, extending the show to 40 years on air, making it one of the longest running shows right next to Looney Tunes. Taking all of this into account, plus the fact that the Simpsons movie earned $74 million in its opening weekend alone and came out just 1 year before the attraction would open in Orlando, it's clear why Universal felt this was the perfect IP to bring into their parks. The story for the Simpsons Ride was crafted by series creator Matt Groening and longtime showrunners like James L. Brooks, keeping it true to the show's trademark humor and style. In the attraction, Krusty the Clown has just opened a new theme park called Krusty Land, and he's unveiling his latest roller coaster.
Hey, theme park ride lovers, excited children, dragged along parents, and foreign tourists who have no idea what I'm saying. Welcome to Krusty's all-new Thrill-tacular, upsy-downsy, spins-aroundsy, teen-operated thrill ride.
The Simpsons are selected to be the very first riders along with the guests thanks to Sideshow Bob, but of course with that in play, things aren't going to go as planned, as Sideshow Bob, being fresh out of prison, is still obsessed with getting revenge on Krusty and the Simpsons family. He hijacks the ride and the entire park as he attempts to destroy the Simpsons, and what follows is a chaotic, over-the-top journey through Krusty Land and Springfield as guests dodge explosions, survive collapsing attractions, and try to escape Sideshow Bob's increasingly unhinged schemes. The result is basically a full-blown Simpsons episode in theme park form, packed with tons of classic Simpsons humor. Now, while I don't necessarily plan on showing the entire ride this time around, I do want to go over the queue and highlight some key moments from the attraction. I watched The Simpsons a lot growing up with my dad, and even saw the movie on opening day with him. So, when I first rode this attraction, though I was sad to see Back to the Future go, I was still excited to experience something new, and honestly, I felt the ride was a good fit. One of the main reasons is the queue. It finds clever ways to feature a ton of characters from the show, integrating them smartly into the attraction's environment. There's even a queue video with a Back to the Future Easter egg, which I'll play here.
Small business loan, you should be able to keep the Institute open for years to come.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Freeman. Thank you. Did I get here in time? No, you idiot. You ruined everything. Now I'll have to sell the Institute of Future Technology to that mercenary clown.
Mercenary clown? That's me!
I think that was a great move, because even though many of these characters don't show up during the ride itself, you still get to see them in the queue and pre-show areas before boarding. In the area before you board, you can catch a lot of these characters, each having their own stand, which really fits into the Krusty Land theme. Characters include Willie, Apu, Marge's two older twin sisters, Patty and Selma, and even an appearance from Mo, who robs Willie's stand and tells guests to enjoy the park.
No problem, Irish. It's in good hands. Looting, everything inside. Enjoy the park, everybody.
What makes this all the more interesting is that before you get to the boarding section, the area is adorned with TVs, playing clips from Itchy and Scratchy, an ultra-violent over-the-top version of Tom and Jerry within the Simpsons universe, as well as clips from the Simpsons TV show itself, many of which are theme park related. You can tell a lot of care went into this attraction's design. It really pulls from the source material in a way that feels authentic and honorable, much like how Universal approached the Wizarding World. That said, let's talk about the ride itself. Though I'm not going to highlight every moment within it, there are some key ones that stand out to me that I feel would be good to go over. If you've seen The Simpsons, you'll notice the humor in this ride is captured spot on. The story flows nicely, and while the animation might feel a little off, especially seeing the characters fully rendered in 3D, it doesn't take away from the experience in a way that hurts it. In fact, there are a lot of moments in here that show how well the spirit was translated into the attraction. So, let's look at some of these great moments in the ride that really showcase the kind of humor The Simpsons is known for. Starting with the first scene, as guests rise up the initial coaster lift.
Roller coaster!
I'm scared, Dad!
Sweetie, they won't kill you in an amusement park as long as you have a dime left in your pocket.
It's a great bit of irony not only because they're on a coaster literally being demolished, but also because it pokes fun at how absurdly overpriced everything is inside theme parks. Another standout moment, and one that's been heavily featured in promotional material, is the finale on the crumbling coaster tracks, where Homer runs away from a rolling wrecking ball. Feels like a direct parody of Indiana Jones. A little further into the ride, there's a scene that feels like a Krusty Land version of Pirates of the Caribbean, where guests reunite with Homer and Marge as they'll see this interaction play out.
Alone at last.
Bob's trying to kill the kids!
It just gets better and better.
Now, Homer, because I want to be fair, a piece of advice. Resist every temptation I place in front of you.
Oh, beer!
Homer, it's a temptation!
When did beer hurt anybody? I hate chain reaction!
It's a clever little moment that plays with familiar tropes and just filters them through the absurd lens of The Simpsons, bringing that humor really forward and front. Toward the end of the ride, there's one of the most memorable scenes when a giant Maggie grabs the ride vehicle and puts guests into her mouth after losing her binky. At that moment, the scent of baby powder is actually pumped into the ride, and Marge makes a funny comment to cap off the scene. Now, while the ending is a little strange with Kang and Kodos making a quick appearance and the family crash landing on Sideshow Bob, the overall ride experience holds together fairly well. The story, though chaotic, is decently written and full of that classic Simpsons energy. That said, I think the biggest reason this ride doesn't land as well today is because of the lack of a tech upgrade. While I understand the costs that would have come with that, this attraction is still using ride tech developed in the early 90s, and it's really starting to show its age. Even if the ride doesn't have the same impact it once did, Springfield still does have a lot to offer, especially when it comes to the food and drinks, as well as its overall theming. So, how well does the land itself hold up? When it comes to Springfield, the land would open in phases during the summer of 2013. Phase 1 would be on June 1st, 2013, with the opening of Fast Food Boulevard, giving guests access to the sit-down eateries that consist of Krusty Burger, Moe's Tavern, The Frying Dutchman, Cletus's Chicken Shack, Luigi's, and Lisa's Tea House of Horror. Then, on August 11th, 2013, Phase 2 would come in, which would include fan favorites like Lard Lad Donuts, the Duff Brewery, Bumblebee Man's Taco Truck, and the only other attraction in Springfield, Kang and Kodos Twirl and Hurl. Speaking of Twirl and Hurl, let's take a closer look at this flat ride. It's very similar to One Fish, Two Fish, Red Fish, Blue Fish over at Islands of Adventure, but with a distinctly Simpsons-themed coat of paint. The characters Kang and Kodos who star in this ride are well known for their appearances in the Simpsons Treehouse of Horror episodes, that being the show's annual Halloween special. There are plenty of signs poking fun at typical theme park experiences, and the ride story is pretty basic, beginning with the guests being kidnapped by Kangakodos to help them attack Springfield. Guests would then fly past targets of the Simpsons characters, hidden among the surrounding green tentacles as part of their mission. While it's nothing groundbreaking, it's a simple, fun concept that helps with crowd flow and delivers quality laughs, much like the Simpsons Ride itself does. While I won't be deep diving into the food options here like I have in my City Walk videos, I do want to talk about what's offered and how the food in the Springfield area actually holds more meaning than you may think. When it comes to themed food, I think there is no denying that Disney is the undisputed king, as having well-themed food in the land can really enhance immersion, especially when it works hand in hand with the theming of the environment itself. Now, I haven't been to Epic Universe yet to see how Universal is doing with themed food on that front, though I have heard some good things, but I have been to both Studios and Islands of Adventure, and I have to say, with the exception of Seuss Landing and one restaurant really in Seuss Landing in particular, Universal doesn't offer a ton of truly themed food. And just to be clear, when I say themed food, I'm not talking about something simple like what you would find in the Lost Continent, which serves food inspired by the regions it pulls from. I know a lot of people will point to Harry Potter, and yes, that was Universal's truly good first step in the right direction in terms of trying to push for more of that themed food. But what I'm really talking about is food that shows creative world building. Take Galaxy's Edge at Disney, for example. The food there is themed in a way that feels like it actually belongs in universe. It's not necessarily the best food in all of Disney, but it adds to the experience and helps reinforce the setting. That's the kind of theming I'm referring to. A great example on Universal's side is Seuss Landing, specifically green eggs and ham, from the classic Dr. Seuss story. That familiarity does more than spark nostalgia. Food like this is essential to theme park storytelling because it helps make the world feel real and alive. When what you eat fits perfectly with the environment around you, it deepens immersion and strengthens that overall experience that you're having. The theming here is very strong, as the building itself is shaped like a giant green ham, and the outdoor seating feature umbrellas are designed to look like green eggs, fully committing to that whimsical world of Dr. Seuss. This kind of theming can truly make or break the guest experience, even if the food isn't mind-blowing. The immersive environment and dedication to the source material makes it memorable, and the food itself doesn't need to be anything complicated. But here, it centers around different types of food combinations with tater tots. The two themed options, we'll call them, on the menu are of course green eggs and ham over tater tots with cheddar cheese sauce, and Who Hash, which is pretty similar, instead adding into the pot corned beef and onions in place of the green eggs and ham. Though these aren't as in-depth theming-wise as some of the things Disney utilizes, it is enough to be believable and a part of the Seuss Landing area. Now, looking back over at Fast Food Boulevard, these dining locations are all in a way connected and housed inside, where guests can enter from various separate entrances. Here, the various options are set up in a food court or cafeteria style, where guests wait in line, and as they reach the front, they select their options. Starting with the first one, we have Krusty Burger, which offers pretty much your standard theme park burgers, the difference here being it has cheese sauce and secret sauce. Other options on the menu include Heat Lamp Dog, that being a hot dog, and the Mother Nature Burger, which is a vegetarian option. Next is Cletus's Chicken Shack, which offers, you guessed it, chicken. The two most notable options on this menu are the chicken and waffle sandwich and the chicken platter, which offers 2 cornflake crusted chicken strips with mashed potatoes, corn on the cob, and coleslaw. We then have the Frying Dutchman, which offers fried fish baskets, fried calamari, and even clam chowder. And our final 2 dining options are Luigi's, which offers pizza with only 3 options available, and Lisa's Tea House of Horror, which serves cold sandwiches, wraps, and salads. Besides all of these, there is one more place which offers custom drinks and a specialty beverage named from one of the drinks in the show, that being the Flaming Moe, which is simply dry ice with orange Fanta in a souvenir cup. The theming around the food is relatively light overall, but the menu names carry a humorous vibe that does fit the Simpsons world, especially at Krusty Burger. While the food isn't going to blow you away, it fits that fast food boulevard concept perfectly, where the quick, casual dining is the expectation. Oddly enough, the fact that the food isn't high-end and almost enhances the theme. It reflects the kind of greasy, over-the-top fast food you'd expect in a cartoon like The Simpsons. While it's not as uniquely themed as something you'd find at Disney, or maybe even Seuss Landing, it works in its own way, grounded more in satire than immersion, but somehow they play hand in hand. This was also the point when Universal really began to dip its toe into themed food offerings on a larger scale. Before Springfield, many of the park's sit-down eateries mostly served standard fare like burgers and pizza. The Simpsons area still includes those staples, but with more variety and character. It helped pave the way for more immersive dining, which the Wizarding World would later take even further. Some items stand out more thanks to their ties to the show, like Buzz Cola, a zero-calorie cherry soda that's especially nostalgic for fans who remember it from the Simpsons hit-and-run game. Fast Food Boulevard serves its purpose well, a quick, convenient place to grab a bite inside the park that still manages to deliver fun theming through its menu and surroundings, and if you're up for it, you can even head into Moe's Tavern for a Duff beer while you're there. Speaking of Duff beer, let's move over to the Duff Brewery and take a closer look at the rest of the Springfield expansion that followed. Before we jump into Duff Brewery, I want to highlight how Springfield features plenty of characters scattered throughout the land. From Chief Wiggum next to his crashed police car, to a statue of Jebediah Springfield, Millhouse sipping a Buzz Cola outside the Quickie Mart, and of course, Duff Man striking a pose near the Duff Brewery, along with the 7 little Duffs outside the brewery itself. These character placements might seem like simple photo ops at first glance, but they actually add a surprising amount of synergy to the land. They help make Springfield feel more alive and not just like a simply themed space, which unfortunately seems to be what a lot of studios is with the exception of Diagon Alley. But instead, it feels like a living cartoon world. You combine this with all the cardboard cutouts, the regular character meet and greets, and it all contributes to give The Simpsons that absurd humor and vibrant personality that defines it in a land setting. With that all said, let's finally look over at Duff Brewery. Duff beer is primarily available at 2 spots in the entire park, Moe's Tavern and of course the Duff Brewery, though guests can find it at a few other select locations throughout Springfield. Rather than simply slapping the Duff label on a generic beer like Budweiser, Universal went the extra mile. They partnered with a Florida-based brewery in Melbourne, Florida, to craft 3 unique styles of Duff: the Classic Duff, an amber lager, Duff Dry, which is comparable to a Guinness or a dry Irish stout, and Duff Light, a light pilsner. Interestingly, around the fall, you can also find a seasonal version called Dufftoberfest, a German-style Marzen beer. It's great to see Universal investing in a distinctive product that truly stands out among the park's offerings. Duff Brewery itself is a hybrid between a bar and a merchandise shop, meaning if you're looking for all that exciting Duff merchandise, you're not going to find it anywhere better than here. Beyond the Duff beer, guests can also enjoy non-alcoholic beverages like Squishy, the frozen drink from Apu's Quickie Mart, and some small food options like Sideshow Bob's famous 2-foot hot dog. Next though, we'll make our way over to Lard Lad Donuts. Many longtime pass holders and frequent visitors of Universal are familiar with these giant pink donuts, which became a popular word-of-mouth hit when the land first opened. Lard Lad also offers apple fritters, boxes of assorted donuts, and even donut sundaes. In fact, if you're feeling adventurous, you can get a sundae served right on top of the large pink donut itself. Our final stop in this Springfield expansion, though, is Bumblebee Man's Taco Truck, which offers 4 distinct taco options: Korean beef, fish, chicken, and carne asada, and all of them sound pretty good. And from what I've heard, the food here is actually pretty solid. You'll also find a few drink choices to go with your meal. The land of Springfield does have a lot to offer, from the Quickie Mart gift shop to the carnival games outside the main attraction, as well as all of these food varieties. It's strong in its theming, combined with the wide range of those options, and is probably a big part of why this land still draws a crowd. But even popularity has its limits, and as we've seen with other Universal properties, not everything can stay forever. And with the Simpsons Ride and the land of Springfield, that time may be coming sooner rather than later. Universal's contract to use The Simpsons in their parks is set to expire in 2028, a deal made prior to the Disney acquisition of Fox in 2019. Universal, as of the time, does retain full theme park rights to The Simpsons, but that window is quickly closing. The Simpsons could soon be phased out of their parks, but Universal could attempt to renew the deal. However, that ultimately depends on Disney. Recent guest surveys from Disney mentioning Cars, A Villain's Land, and The Simpsons, with two of which now confirmed for Magic Kingdom, suggest Disney may be exploring bringing the IP home. Adding to the speculation, Inside the Magic recently reported in 2024 that no new techs are being hired to support the Simpsons Ride or its show systems, which could be a quiet sign that the attraction is nearing its end. So, what could replace the Simpsons? Well, while there's no official answer yet, a few options come to mind, and one that I could see is Universal bringing the Secret Life of Pets attraction from Hollywood to the Orlando park. It would make a decent fit for the attraction side, though the IP may not be strong enough to warrant its own land the way Springfield once did. So, as of right now, only time will tell what ends up taking its place. Overall, I do still miss Back to the Future the ride the most, and that's probably just nostalgia talking. But I know it wouldn't work in today's studio park for a plethora of reasons, especially since screen-based attractions used to feel fresh and unique, whereas now they make up almost the entirety of the studio's park. And while the Simpsons Ride isn't terrible, it's definitely due for a ride system overhaul. That said, I doubt we'll see that happen once the contract expires, as I imagine the ride will be replaced, and I can foresee Universal making that announcement sooner rather than later. I'm confident Disney would want to bring the IP home and likely slot it into, per se, Hollywood studios. But until then, only time will tell how long Springfield and all the amenities it offers will stick around. But now I want to hear from you. What attraction do you think could take its place if the time comes? Comment your thoughts down below, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing and giving the video a like. It really helps the channel, and I appreciate each and every one of you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.